Hello and welcome back to the Influencer Boxing Show with, as always, your host, Charlie Woollard, and I am joined again by my main man, Gio.
How we doing?
We're back again.
Let's do another category.
Another category. If you haven't seen the first video, the men's boxer of the year, please go back and watch this before you start this one so we don't miss it, because I'm sure we'll probably spoil a little bit, but we don't want to do too much. But yeah, please go back and watch that. And as well, if you could please drop a like and subscribe to the channel here on One on One Boxing, that would be very much appreciated. Turn the notification bell if you haven't, or if you turn the notification bell on if you haven't already, and it will alert you whenever we upload, not only for the Influencer Boxing Show, but any of the amazing content that we give you. So yeah, let's talk another category here on the award show for this year's crossover influencer boxing scene, and that is the female boxer of the year. Because we mentioned on the first episode of the award show that 90% of the crossover scene is male. Unfortunately, that is just the way things are. But Misfits, Kingpin, Creator Clash, etc. have thrown on some brilliant female fights, and there has been some very, very good boxers that have come out of the scene.
Absolutely.
And are sort of breaking onto the scene as well. I'm going to start off with the first name.
Okay.
Because I think you kicked us off last time with the last one. And I'm going to throw in Elle Brooke.
Okay.
One that has been on the scene now for a few years.
Yep.
She's very much well known in the space, not only doing what she does, as we all know, but as well on TikTok. She makes some hilarious videos with sort of all different types of influencers. I saw one the other day with Ben AFC, if you know who he is. He's strangest bloke. I'm sure he's a nice guy. Strangest bloke. She does like random collabs with people like him, which was quite funny to see.
She's very hardworking. One
and
thing I
was going to mention this. She is so hardworking. Mark Tibbs, who I'm very happy to say that I do know of him. He knows me. He's a fantastic trainer in the world of boxing.
Yeah.
Trained with some amazing names. She does train under him. I mean, Johnny Fisher. Shout out Johnny Fisher, legend by the way. Also trains with Mark Tibbs. And Elle Brooke is a part of that gym. She trains down there all the time. And he always tells me, and I think this is why she's very high up on this list for me. Not only nothing to do with losses, because we mentioned B. Dave in the last one. She works so hard. She's lost so much weight. She's so toned as well, by the way. This is not me glazing, by the way. Just want to quickly point this out.
He's subscribed.
Got that.
He's got that premium.
No, she does train very, very hard. These are not my words. These are these are his words. But
these are his words.
It's been a long day. It's not even early. It's like nearly 12 o'clock. I'm hungry. But yeah, Elle Brooke for me is very high up on this list.
Well, she trains very closely as well with former champion Ebony Bridges. You know what I mean? A lot of this has been a huge year, by the way. We'll say that for female 100%. Influencer boxing. There's so many stars now. At the beginning of the year, you'd think, all right, you wouldn't be able to name 5 influencer boxers that were female. Now you could probably name 10 to 20, you know what I mean? Especially in those sort of like top rankings. And Elle Brooke, you know, she's a friend of mine too. She's an absolutely exceptional talent when it comes to, you know, the talent of like the technical skill in the influencer boxing scene, which we don't see much of in the female divisions as much as like, you know, we do in the men's. But let's start back in 2004 when she had the fight with Faith. Someone who was much bigger than her.
That first round was unbelievable. I interviewed Faith, not to cut you off there, Gio, sorry. But yeah, Faith in that first round, I remember I interviewed Faith. I was the only person that spoke to her after the fight. She was devastated.
Oh, really?
It got like 4 million views, by the way, this video, right, I did with her. And it banged, which is great. But she looked so devastated, but she looked banged up. Like, she looked absolutely out of it. And Elle was exactly the same. Like, you wouldn't think like either one of them had won, because they both just absolutely went for it. And Elle is she comes out fast every fight. And it is just like, you think, like, you can say it's like handbag central and things like whatever you want to call it. No, like generally, because like,
a lot of people say handbag central.
Yeah, handbag central, hands going everywhere, like all sorts, right? But it generally, she comes out and she fights. She can take punches, and she can land some herself. She's got the power. And again, we spoke about the fact that she works hard. She works hard on that power and the pace of it as well.
Yeah, and admittedly, going into that fight with Faith, I was leaning towards Faith, because I thought when it comes to sort of a lack of technical skill, the one who's bigger, who seemingly definitely the more athletic in Faith. I didn't know much about Faith before then, but you just look at her and you go, oh, she's very well built. You know what I mean? She's athletic. She's much taller than Elle, which is going to play a factor in that too. And I was thinking, Elle, who only stands at like 5'1" or whatever she is, has got a massive task in her hands in Faith to even win this fight. But not only did she win the fight, she managed to get her out of there, and I believe it was the first round. And Faith's face at the end of that fight, she was bleeding everywhere. Obviously, you interviewed her. You said she was devastated by it. Honestly. I don't think she understood what happened. You know what I mean? I think she was dazed. She took many shots, and it stapled Elle as being one of the most talented influencer boxers. Absolutely, not just in the female division, in the entire sort of space. And it's because of the work that she's putting in with the likes of Ebony Bridges and the hard rounds that she's definitely doing in training. She takes it seriously. She absolutely does. And
that's important. And that's another factor. So what we mentioned in the first episode of the award show, again, please do go back and watch it if you want to see the men's boxer of the year. We mentioned that our nominations have come from entertainment value, which is very important in this scene. The physical value, so what him or her do in the ring. And then the third value is sort of just anything extra we can sort of think of about them and what they come with.
And Elle is very entertaining.
She's at every single event as well, by the way. She's at every single event.
She puts the work in. She travels. I saw her in Newcastle when she wasn't fighting. She was there at the Misfits event when she wasn't fighting. You know, she's starting drama all the time. When AJ recently won her belt, you see Elle get in the ring and like cutting promos and things like that. She's constantly looking to make storylines and get attention. She had to go at Pineda at one point, which I thought was a bit of a weird one. But apart from that, I think that's the only time I ever was like, okay, Mel, maybe don't have a go at Pineda. We all love Pineda.
Yeah,
you know
don't touch Mr. Bamos.
Pick your fights. But ultimately, like, it was great for her to be on the Kingpin tournament as well. It showed that she is not scared of anything. Sometimes you get these boxers in the influencer scene that don't want to take fights, that will cherry pick fights because they kind of just want to, fight people they know they're going to win. When you enter, anybody who entered the Kingpin tournament, in my opinion, gets respect because you have no choice who you're fighting. It was literally picked from a ballot, and she was willing to fight anybody in there, including her own sister. So that shows she has real balls. I don't know what the way of saying that for girls, but yeah, she has heart.
PG heart. We don't want to get cancelled, Gio. Okay, so Elle Brooke's up there. That's one on the nomination list for female boxer of the year. Your second nomination, please.
So I'm going to go with somebody who actually managed to get to the final of the Kingpin tournament, who has a lot of physical attributes that make her a formidable fighter in the scene, and that is Barbie. Very unique looking fighter. Obviously, you see her and you're immediately struck by this very tall girl. I think she's 6 foot. Who, by the way, that's very tall for
out of all the other female boxers in the scene.
Yeah, very tall. She's very well built too, and she actually comes from a background of fighting in the fact that I believe her family, her dad is an MMA fighter. She's Australian, I believe, and she put on a incredible performance on both of her fights in Misfits, especially the first fight that she had. I believe it was against Whitney Jones, I believe her name is, and she knocked her down, almost finished her, and her sort of physical her technical skill in that fight was, in my opinion, probably the best sort of technical skill we've ever seen from any of the female boxers, especially with that sort of right uppercut that she kept throwing that was very successful for her. And then obviously she had a great fight against Elle Brooke where she basically just dominated her, and I was really excited to see her fight in the final, but we obviously never got to see that. So hopefully Misfits bring her over next year, but based on the performances that she had this year, 100% deserves to be on this list.
Okay. I can't say too much on that because I agree with absolutely everything you've just said there. I think she's a name that, again, will be something... I keep saying again. Will be coming towards maybe the back end of next year, where we might see more sort of headline female events, which I think would be brilliant for the scene. Show a bit of diversity as well, because some of these fighters have a huge audience, and one that does have a huge audience, that leads me on nicely to my third nomination, is Jully Poca.
Wow.
Which she has big presence in the scene. She's beaten some big names. I mean, on Kingpin, she did defeat Elle Brooke, if you remember. And recently fought as well on Misfits.
Alina Vampira.
Which was, again, a fight that she won. So these are people that she sort of swept past. So again, similar to Barbie, she's a name that has presence in itself because she will probably get some huge fights next year and sort of keep this winning run going.
Well, she is the only influencer boxer in the female division that has fought 3 times this year and has won 3 times this year,
which is important.
If you would have asked me this time last year who is Jully Poca, I would have no idea. But now she's one of the biggest names in Misfits, and I was there at the Kingpin quarterfinals, and we were waiting to come in, and there was these huge cheers inside the arena, and we were outside getting tickets, and I was thinking, the fights don't start for another 20 minutes. Like, what are people cheering? And what we found out is they were literally just showing photos of the fighters, and whenever they showed either Winderson or Jully, there was huge pops from the Brazilian crowds that came out in hordes to Wembley to support Jully. So she definitely has the fan base. Obviously, they find her very entertaining in Brazil. I've never watched her content before. I'm not Brazilian.
But similar to Nunes in the men's scene.
Similar to Nunes, obviously. But, you know, she's putting on great fights. She managed to beat... the first fight was against Daniela Hemsley. She beat her very comfortably. Yeah. And then obviously against Elle Brooke, somebody who, you know, we've given a lot of credit to, who's seen as sort of being one of the most dominant fighters in the whole division, in the whole scene. And then obviously most recently she fights Vampira, and every single time she just looks exceptional. Do you know, there's never any question when she finishes the fight, did she win, didn't she win? She always makes sure to show everyone, you know, she actually has a technical skill. She's athletic, she's clearly entertaining, she's got a lot of fans, and it's hard for me it's hard for me to think of anyone else that deserves that top spot but her.
Yeah, she's brilliant. She is great. And I think this is why I sort of put her in, not to repeat too much of what you just said on her, but she just is a name that you look at. She hasn't lost, which is important. We talk about if this is to do with influencer boxing scene or in boxing in general, any sort of martial arts or anything. It's a game of snakes and ladders.
Yeah.
You win, you go up a ladder, and you lose, you go down. You know, it's important to recognise that, because the more she wins, the bigger fight she'll get.
Yeah.
And the fact that she's on this winning streak moving into 2024, that's really important to mention.
And if I was in the female division of the influencer boxing scene, I would be scared to fight Jully Poca. You know what I mean? She's that one of those fighters where you look at and you go, she's hard to work out, because usually, if we're being completely honest, in the female divisions, the skill level is sort of very low, if we're being completely honest. And Jully is actually one of the fighters that you look at her and you go, oh no, she's actually decent. You know what I mean? She actually has a decent skill.
And coming from where she's based as well in Brazil, we can link this with any sport, maybe football, for example. The South American sort of style is quite aggressive at times, so she comes with that, which again could sort of bring fear to the British fighters as such.
She has this gum shield with teeth on it, like sharp teeth. Yeah.
Again, that's not exactly what you want to see when you learn how to fight her. Let's move on to another nomination. Gio, fire away.
Astrid Wett. So obviously, I believe she's the current champion. You know, she's had some decent fights this year. Obviously, last year coming off a great win against Simple Simon's daughter Keely, where she retired on her stool. Then she came back this year for AJ Bunker, which was a tough fight for her.
It was a tough fight. I remember this fight because it did go the distance, I believe, as well. Yeah. And everyone thought maybe Astrid would sort of get past, or either crumble or completely get past AJ, because AJ again is quite a tough fighter in herself, but she come through that quite well. And then she had, I believe, the fight that was Astrid Wett Promotions, I believe.
Oh my gosh,
that went downhill. We don't want to talk too much on that. I think we spoke about this last time, so we won't talk too much on that.
But then she actually did manage to fight Alexia on the Prime card. She managed to beat her. Obviously, it was a controversial decision, but it was a
great fight. It was a good fight as well. It was a decent fight. Remember, we're comparing, and I don't want to go too much into female or male and what you have your opinions on, whatever, but for a female fight,
it was a decent fight.
It was a decent fight. You know, it was a decent fight. It wasn't the best female fight. That's a category for another video, but it was a decent fight. And I think Astrid deserves to be on this, not only being the champion, she brings the entertainment. I mean, again, she's a fighter that's at every single event. I mean, you see her all the time. She's
always
not the tallest woman in the world. She's very small, but you can always see where she is.
She's always pulling. Exactly, she's always pulling stunts. I believe she tried to do some at the Prime card that were sort of vetoed. Like she tried to come in a wedding dress or something, and then she got like.
I see the photo from Elle on Twitter. She put it on,
and that's the thing, and that's the one fight that I really wish that we do get to see at some point, if they can agree on a weight class, and it would be the Elle Brooke Astrid Wett.
That's the issue.
Super fight.
That is the issue.
We almost got originally on the first ever Kingpin event that never actually came to be. And I feel like, at the beginning of the year, if we go back to the AJ Bunker fight, Elle had fought AJ Bunker. So it was sort of almost like the measuring stick, like how well can Astrid do against AJ? Because everyone at this point thought that Elle was sort of levels ahead of her. But then I think that Astrid actually dealt with AJ better than Elle did. So that would be a really interesting fight if they can make it happen. Although Astrid has said recently that she is retiring from the influencer boxing scene, I believe, or at least it was hinted by Mams that she's not going to be returning, which would be a real shame because I feel like she also always brings the entertainment value, which is an important when we're deciding on these rankings, on these awards. But yeah, I would love to see more of Astrid in the scene.
I don't believe that retirement story, and I'll tell you why. How many times have you seen Mr. Tyson Fury retire and he always comes back? If there's a payday, let me tell you something about this scene, the same as any scene. If there's a pay involved and the pay is right and it's a good fight, trust me, she's coming back. She's coming back. Yeah. Remember, she's got the belt as well. She's doing a CM Punk. She's running away with the belt. Yeah. We don't want that. Okay. I think we'll wrap up there on these nominations. I think there's some great names here, unless you've got another one. I want
to give an honourable mention. So
okay, go for it.
I think she's only fought once, but in terms of entertainment value, the fight that she put on, the documentary that she made afterwards, it was actually on Creator Clash, and it was Michelle Carre. Mm-hmm. If anyone has made a better piece of content when it comes to following the influencer boxing journey, then I haven't seen it, because the best that I've seen is Michelle's.
It's coming from Editor, by the way.
Such an exceptional piece of work. I can't remember exactly what it's called. I think she called it I Became a Professional Boxer or something like that. If you're a fan of this scene or a fan of boxing in general or a fan of great content, go and watch it. It's absolutely incredible.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
I agree with that as well.
And she had a great fight against Andrea Botes, whatever her name is. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a good fight.
So let's hope we see more of her.
I think she said she's one and done.
Is she done?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, Mams needs to bring out the pay. Out the check and we might see her again. Okay, so let's round up our Female Boxer of the Year nominations. Again, if you do agree with any of these names or any names we haven't mentioned or a winner that you agree with that we haven't put, please drop it in the comments. Much appreciated. So we've got Astrid Wett, Elle Brooke, Jully Poca. And Barbie. So I personally am going to go with Jully Poca.
I agree.
Yeah?
I agree. I mean, you have to. She's had 3 fights this year. She's looked exceptional every single one of them. And also, she's won all 3 of them.
I think that's important. We spoke in the last one, in the last video, the Men's Boxer of the Year, about, for example, B. Dave only winning 1 fight. But with the female division, because there isn't that many female boxers, a win is so important. Yeah. Because, for example, in the men's division, if you lose, there is always another option of who you can fight with. The female boxer, the less people, the more competitive it is, because you've got to try and be the top dog. Otherwise, you just get lost.
Yeah,
so Jully Poca.
Absolutely.
Right, Jully Poca. Round of applause, audience. Thank you. Huge audience in the background. Jully Poca is our Female Boxer of the Year here on the Influencer Boxing Show. I'm very happy with that. You happy with that?
I'm happy.
Okay, I think we move to another category. and that does mean it is the end of this episode. So please make sure you do drop a like on this video. Comment down below, as I said, any more nominations you have for this category or any winners that you think are deserved of this prestigious award here on the Influencer Boxing Show.
No one else is doing them. No one else is doing the Influencer Boxing
do things
rewards.
Differently.
Exactly.
We do things differently on here. We're living, bro. We are living. And again, please make sure you do drop a like. Subscribe to the channel if you are brand new here on One on One, because we create the best boxing content. You must know this by now. Turn the notification bell on if you haven't already to get alerted on the rest of the award show videos that are coming up. From myself, Gio. From Gio and myself, Charlie Woollard. We'll catch you on another one.